Coming up on this episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset Series podcast.
People have made up the salesy term to describe a negative feeling they may have when they're asking people to buy something. I don't want to feel like I'm that person, that salesy person. So I decided to address that and re-release my book with an addendum about the salesy problem that we have out there. So my mission now is to change that salesy word into a positive affirmation, and I'm going to use it as an acronym. Selling authentically like everyone sees you. Okay, say you're salesy, but know that you're selling authentically like everyone sees you. Let's not use it in a negative term of, oh, I don't want to be pushy and all that, because frankly, the baggage we carry about sales and salespeople is what brings us down. And that's why we create these terms like salesy. Like, I don't want to be that person. You don't have to be that person because you probably aren't. I'm sure that you don't have those attributes that you think you have to adopt to be a salesperson. If you're excitedly telling your friend about something that you have, and you want them to have, aren't you helping them? Aren't you authentically being yourself? Aren't you giving them something that you know they need and it's going to improve their life? Is that being salesy? No. It's being helpful and authentic and useful to the other person. And you know that they'll trust you because what you like, you feel like I will probably like too.
Welcome, leaders, to the Women's Leadership Mindset Series presented by TK Page Enterprises. My name is Teresa Page, and I am your host and looking forward to spending these next few moments with all of you. We have a lot of work to get done on today, but first, allow me to invite you to connect with me by subscribing to my website and to connect and follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media platforms. And always feel free to contact me directly via email or by booking an appointment. So what is our goal? Well, as an author, speaker, coach, and mentor, my mission is to help professional women renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose through diverse mediums of leadership empowerment solutions and the My Journey to Wholeness book series. However, the Women's Leadership Mindset series is a new initiative intended to spotlight powerful women leaders and how they serve the world through their professions and purpose. So with a goal to help women realize their unfulfilled dreams and re-energize the leaders they always were, this platform is designed to enhance, empower, educate, equalize, and even emancipate as our featured guests share their entrepreneurial stories, provide valuable resources, and guidance in a caring, professional, and impactful manner. So, let's get down to business. Well, all right, in today's video, it is my pleasure to welcome to my virtual stage Jean Wright, sales confidence expert, professional speaker, and author of Jean Wright's Selling Your Confidence. Jean is a seasoned professional with a 4-decade sales career spanning industries like personnel agencies, sports entertainment, television, print, and digital media. She attained management-level positions through her sheer dedication and exceptional customer service. But Jean's journey didn't stop there. As the president of a local women's business organization, she noticed that its members lacked confidence in sales. She decided to address it with her debut book, Selling Your Confidence, Forging a Successful Sales Career from Mint Cookies to Martinis. From her early days as a Girl Scout selling cookies to her adult sales career, Jean's story is packed with valuable insights and helpful tips about presenting your unique package and feeling more confident along the way. Jean is now a sales confidence expert on a mission to empower women's groups and solopreneurs alike who fears sounding salesy or are uncomfortable with selling. She creates impact, transforms their mindset around selling, and develops authentic relationship building skills to approach sales with greater confidence. So to connect with Jean, you may visit her website at sellingyourconfidence.com. You may also email her at jean@sellingyourconfidence.com. You may connect with her on social media via LinkedIn at Jean Wright-Confidence Builder. And also be sure to check out her book, Selling Your Confidence, Forging a Successful Sales Career from Mint Cookies to Martinis, found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So we'll bring back all of this information along with Jean's complimentary gift before we go. But first, I want to say, welcome, Jean. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Teresa, for inviting me today. I'm so looking forward to this.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited about our conversation on today. And we're going to go ahead and get into it. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to the lovely Leslie Capps, CEO and founder of Author in 30, who is responsible for this connection in between the two of us. So I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about because I definitely believe that your expertise in sales is really going to be able to help our listening audience. So let's go ahead and get down to business. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself beyond the bio?
Well, it's just been a great journey for me. I did a lot of things in my career that unexpectedly affected my ability to now speak about what I went through to be a successful sales professional. And I learned some things along the way. Selling can be a respected profession, not necessarily something that we fear to be. Unfortunately, in our culture, that's what it is. And so a lot of realization throughout my years out in the business world have brought me to this point. And I never thought I'd be an author. I never thought I would be a person coaching women or speaking to large groups about my topic. But isn't it interesting how life just sort of brings you to certain points where you're not expected, but you've kind of worked toward it. And here you are. And I'm being interviewed on this wonderful podcast with you, Teresa.
Absolutely. And here you are. And absolutely. And I love that about your journey. And something that you just said that I want you to lean into about selling could be a respected position. And I absolutely believe that. But sometimes, I guess from the consumer point of view, we may bump into some salespeople that could be kind of pushy or want to bully you into something or even make you feel like if you don't purchase this good or this service, that somehow your life is just not going to be as wonderful as it possibly can be. Can you talk to us about a couple of things about what maybe some salespeople might be getting wrong that may give, maybe not even wrong, but what some salespeople could possibly use from your expertise on how to be able to demonstrate how wonderful their goods and services are without being having that salesy or that pushy or that bullying attitude. How can we bring back just a little bit more respect to the selling concept? Can you take us there talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, it's funny when I speak to groups and I ask who wants to be are you a salesperson? You'll hear the murmuring in the crowd, oh, that used car salesman or that man I bought a car from, I didn't like that whole experience. And I found in speaking with people in the auto industry that they hate that type of image that has been created about them. Unfortunately, it has permeated into our culture because people think of the car salesman, that used car salesman, or the regular car salesman who feels like they can tell you everything they know and you know nothing, right? I don't know if that was a training back then, but it's always a phrase that comes up when I speak to people. Oh, just like that used car salesman. Just like that. Like, why do we have that image? And there's something back in the day, the snake oil salesman out in the West, who came to the town and, here's what I have to offer you, and nobody knew if it worked. They told you it worked. They were telling you you had to have it, and it was just more or less a hard sell. I think a lot of people that are in sales groups, and I have been in sales situations with a team where it's very, I guess, forced on you to how you have to act to get that sale. And you have to follow the formula. And there are parts to the sales process that you need to know. You need to understand how to speak to people, how to present your product, how to listen and do all those things. But sometimes I think in the training, they kind of gloss over all that. Like, it's just get the sale, come back with that money, come back with a signed agreement, just get it done, instead of thinking about the person you're sitting in front of and the problem they have, and how we need to listen to what it is they're dealing with, so that we can come up with a plan or a solution to get that fixed, or to help them feel better, or to make their life improved, whatever. And I think that what a salesperson needs to understand is listening is one of the most important things, and not speaking less and listening more. Until you've heard everything that you need to formulate into a solution, you're just going to be throwing things at people and hoping they stick. And when someone calls you on the phone, a telephone solicitor type of situation, they don't know you. They just have this script, and it's going to be, this is what I have to offer. You need this. I don't know. Do I? They're just going with, I call it the spiel, the script, where they're going to sell you, and it's going to happen in 30 seconds. They don't know you. You don't even have trust in them yet because they just called you. I mean, there are so many different ways we've been approached in a sales situation. On the phone like that, with an unsolicited caller that we're not expecting. I've had people knock at my door. I'm not expecting them to be standing there in front of me. And it's how you approach. If you have to be in a sales situation like that, you need to step back and show your authentic self as the salesperson, and not have it sound like it's not you. Like, you're authentically interested in helping that person, and not just following a sales script. Or, we all have quotas. We all have reasons to have to live because we have to make money. But let's not make it like we're forcing somebody else to do something just because we need that sale. Let's show that we genuinely care about people. And that's where I think salespeople need to notch it down a little bit and know that in the end, they're hoping the person will say yes. But let's get to know them. Let's build a relationship. Let's build that trust, so that that other person will feel more comfortable with you, and they'll feel like you're going to take care of them during and after the sale. It's not just a quick transaction. And we're so transactional today. We just want it now, and we're going to click the button and we're going to get it. But do we really know what we're getting? Is there somebody standing behind it? Is there somebody we can call and say, this isn't exactly what I thought it would be. Let's talk more about what I really want. So I think that empathy, I think that building of a relationship, I think that authenticity that you can provide about uh, who you are, so that they can feel comfortable with you and know that when they make the decision to buy from you, they're doing the right thing.
I absolutely love that. And it sounds like you've given us a formula because I'm over here taking notes, because I trust that the listening audience is taking notes, because it sounds like that you have kind of given us a formula of how to bring respect back to selling. I like the way you talked about showing up authentically being mindful of the person that's in front of you, understanding what their problem is, but most importantly, listen all the way through so that we're able to provide a solution. Um, and I think that building relationship that is really cool. Maybe for those who might be in the audience who are in the sales industry, how is it that what would you say to them if the answer is no? And to just let go that the answer is no. I think we probably have all experienced it, even if something was a no this or a not right now, that it's still a continued push where you're still getting calls or you're still getting communications, even after you have already laid down the decision. And so from the sales perspective, for those who might be listening, what would you say to them as far as from your expertise or expert point of view? What would you say to them if the answer is no, and either how to let it go or what process do they need to take to maybe continue to build upon that relationship, or how to build that trust that even if the answer is no right now, it might be a yes later on down the road. So how do you maintain that trusting relationship from the sales point of view? And this is for those who might be in the listening audience that are actively in the sales industry, and they're looking to bring back that respect. But how do they handle no and still work on building that relationship for a later yes?
Right. That is one of the biggest fears that people in sales have, is the no, or I have to think about it. Well, what does that mean? That if somebody says to you, that's probably the hardest one to overcome because you don't know where they are. I have to think about, what do you have to think about? Okay, so is it maybe the price? Is it maybe the timing? I don't really need it right now, but I might need it later. I have to think about it may mean I have to talk to somebody else about it. So a lot of times people will just, on the salesperson side, they might just take that as, okay, we're done. No, there's probably a reason why they're saying, I have to think about it. We'll start with that, is because there are some questions that are still unanswered in their minds. So you could ask, well, what is it that you may still not feel sure about? What other questions do you have? Was I clear on everything? There was something that you had asked me. Did I answer that question for you? If they say I have to talk to somebody else about it, well, can that other person come back and we can meet together? Or what kind of questions do you think they may ask you about what we talked about today that I could answer now, and you'll be prepared to answer that for them, and they'll be able to make a decision with you much easier. So that's one of the scenarios that comes up quite a bit, because I have to think about it is definitely a put off. It's a put off because there's something else going on. They're not saying no, but they're not sure about something. Some of their questions haven't been answered. They have to talk to somebody else. So you need to clarify why they're saying I have to think about it. Now, when it's a no, it could be that they have to think about it still. But now that I've shown you everything that you say you need, or that is what the product or service I can offer you, are we ready to move forward? Which might be a good way to ask for the sale, instead of, okay, can you sign on the dotted line? Are we ready to go? Just make sure they understand you've gone through a lot of information with them and a lot of presentation about the product. Everything should be clear as day for them to say yes, right? But they're going to say no. Okay, so what's going on here? It's possible maybe your products and services really aren't a good fit. It's possible that they thought maybe this was going to be something they really needed, and it's really not a good fit. And you might have to dig a little deeper. Is this a good fit for you? Is this really going to be something that you need today? And they may say, you know what, I'm going to say no today, but I might need something like this in a few months. I only came today to learn about it. but I might be able to say yes in a few months. This is why advertising works. This is how advertising works. If you watch something on television and you see cars being advertised all the time, and I don't need a car today, but in 3 months I might. So if somebody feels like I don't need this today, I know now everything about your product and service, mutually agree to follow up in the future. Would it be okay if we talk again? Yes, maybe in a month I'll be ready. Can we talk and then look at your calendar and say, I'd like to follow up with you in 30 days? You could do that. This way, your no becomes a maybe, and you can continue to be connected with this person and not be constantly calling them, but decide, I'd like to call you in a month if you think that maybe by then you'll be more ready for this. And they may say, yes, call me then. If you can mutually agree to reconnect, at least you will continue the conversation again. So it's not an absolute no. But as I said before, it could be a possibility you're just not a good fit. Then ask them, now that you know everything that we have to offer, do you know anybody else that might be interested in our services or our product? Get a referral. That's better than walking out the door and having nothing left. And they may say, well, I do know someone else in a similar business like mine who might use this. Therefore, you've got a conversation that you can continue with someone else, and you haven't lost out totally. But if that person isn't a good fit for you right now, ask them if they know somebody else who it might be a good fit for. That way, you have not technically lost a sale. You still have a possibility of a potential new client.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love that because it just kind of still lands on that we're still building relationship and we're still building trust without trying to push, without being pushy or salesy. And so I want to say thank you so much for just being so genuine with us and just kind of giving us a little tips of the trade.
I've been through it all, Teresa. Let me tell you. I have sat in a room where people are nodding their head at me, and I'm really feeling confident that I'm getting through to them, and everything is, everything is great. We're going to work together. And they walk out the door, and they haven't given me they're like very not sure, but you think, okay, we're good. We're going to talk again, and then you might never see them again. I mean, it happens, but don't let them get away before you've got as much information as possible as to maybe why you weren't getting to them. If there's some reason, you need to understand it. And I also have come to the conclusion that some people do have difficulty like saying, sometimes you don't get a yes or a no, or you never hear from them again, because you know what? They may feel bad about saying no. They feel like, oh my gosh, she spent all this time talking to me and doing all this information. I was really just window shopping, and I really wasn't sure I was ready to buy. And, this can be difficult for them to say, I feel bad about saying no to them, to that person. Frankly, as a salesperson, if you say no and it's a really good reason and we're just not going to work together, that's fine. I just rather know so that I can move on. I don't want to keep bothering you if it's really not something that's a good fit for you. I mean, that can happen, but it's just, I know sometimes I walk into a retail store and someone's talking to me and say, can I help you? And they might be showing me something, and I decide I'm not ready to buy that day. I feel bad, like I really should buy something because she just went to all this trouble. But maybe I should just say no because I just don't want to buy today. And I do feel kind of bad about it. Have you ever had that situation where someone has been working with you, or you're just in a situation where they've been very attentive and you want to say, not today, but you feel bad about it?
Well, there have been some if it was something that I really see the value in, and if that person and I, if they have taken time to build that rapport and all of that, and to build that trust and to really lay out, and something happens on my side, a lot of times it's not because a person doesn't want it. It might be just a matter of affordability or something else like that.
It could be a price too. Yes.
And sometimes that can sometimes be the main thing, but it doesn't mean that that person doesn't see the value and what is offered and
Yes,
that they truly do want it. And I do definitely think that's, again, that's where that relationship comes in, because that person's current economic conditions may not always be the same. And so if you've taken that time to build that trust, to build that and to cultivate that relationship, it will stay in my mind. I now know who I want to go to when I'm in the position to be able to finally take advantage of this offer. So a lot of times, I guess from the consumer point of view, we see the value and
right.
we may truly want it. It just might mean that conditions right now won't allow us to take advantage. But when my conditions change, depending on how you treated me, I'm going to remember you. So I will come back to you
Exactly.
when I'm ready to make that sale.
And I love it when a person says, this will be going on sale in a couple weeks. If you come back, you'll get the discount. And I really appreciate that if that salesperson tells me that, because they know it's just too expensive, like you said, or I just am not ready to buy that at this point. If they're helpful and tell me, hey, I'll take your email address and I'll send you the information whenever it comes on sale, or come back again. I know that they're going to help me make that sale eventually, get that sale eventually. So, yes, I think that relationship building is so important.
Absolutely, absolutely. And oftentimes I will even go a little further to say this, that if I know the person specifically when I'm ready to buy, I want that person to get the credit for it, that individual, and not
That's true.
necessarily just the company. I want that person to get the credit for
They put
my
the work
my
into
my
it.
purchase.
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. And so, June, I'm just really loving the education that you're giving us on today. Tell us, um, tell us then, and especially, even for those who are in the sales industry, who might be selling because they're on a team for a particular employer, or even for the entrepreneurs that are listening today. We understand that right now, here in our country, you know, economics is stressful for some people right now. There are a lot of people that's been pushed back out into the job market. It's difficult to afford. A lot of the affordability is just difficult on many platforms, whether it's housing or gas or food or things like that. But for organizations that still need to make their numbers and that still need to continue their business, what's the dance that they have to do now? Understanding that there are economic challenges, it may not always be like this, but how would those who are either from an entrepreneur perspective or those who are in sales, how do they need to still be sensitive about the moment that the country is feeling at right now, but also still need to understand that we still need to sell our goods and our services. What is the balance for times like this?
Okay, well, I'm not an expert in economics. However, in my book, I do have a chapter on what it was like selling during the pandemic. Now, things were going great in 2019. No, we didn't know what was going to be happening in 2020. I had just started a position selling television advertising, and I was building I was filling my funnel, as we say in sales, with lots of prospects, meeting people, talking to them about their needs for advertising on television. And what happens in March of 2020? Everything got shut down.
Absolutely.
So one of my biggest prospects who just became a client at that moment, literally, like the week before, was a car dealership. Car dealers, what happened with cars? People weren't driving. People weren't going to work. Everything changed. I
Right.
got the call from the agency saying, this was the one, when you get a car dealership as a client, it's big in
That's a
television.
big deal.
So when this happened and I got the call, from the agency saying, we're stopping our ads. I was just, they had been on for like a week, and that was it. It was poof, gone. So what do we do now? So what we had to look at was what sectors of the economy are thriving right now. Guess what? It was people that were selling hobby toys. I mean, hobbies were getting huge at home. People were building things, making things because they had to stay home with their families. Employees were in need for lots of places like care facilities, like assisted living, places like that, where there are people in these places that needed care because they were locked in, and care people were coming and going like crazy because of people getting sick, and but they still needed to care for people. So we were finding that advertising for employment was really important in that sector. They in hospitals, they still needed people to care for people because things were going crazy at that time with care for health. We had to look to see what is happening in the economy that is thriving and needs what we have to offer. So if there's a downturn in one area, you might have to look at what's thriving in the other area, and maybe concentrate your sales and that type of thing. I mean, I'm just saying that was a pivot that we had to do so quickly. And I was so used to being out and doing social interaction with people and networking and meeting new people and meeting people in person and having to present the service we offer and all that. All of a sudden, everything was online and on the phone because we couldn't be with people in person. So adjusting to what's going on at that time was a big thing. You have to really decide, where is the money being spent and where am I going to find those dollars? You have to investigate the economy in the way that it's going to benefit you and with whatever products you're selling. That's the only thing I can say to that question from my experience, because that was a major change that no one expected, and we had to just figure it out. Like, we still have to make money as a company. How are we going to do that? And who needs us now? Not those regular people that we were depending on, those regular customers. We have to find new customers. But you can do it. You just have to figure it out. So
I like that, to find new customers. I think, just in all transparency, I had that experience earlier this year because I was looking to host a series of um, women's leadership events, or retreats rather. And this was kind of like still in the middle of where I felt like the women that I wanted to attract to this experience were women who were recently um, pushed into the job market as a result of some dismantling of DEI with some companies, and it's pushed or a lot of federal workers and things, people who are finding themselves in a position where they might need to be renewed from a leadership perspective and all of that. So I was like, these are the people I want to come here. But
yep.
I also understood, and I wanted it to be a beautiful, luxurious experience where they had the opportunity to come in to rest and to reset and all of that. And I remember there was a young lady that was introduced that maybe could have helped me, bring in women there, access to certain women and different things like that. Let me hurry up and make this story short. But she said to me when I was laying out what this experience would be, and she said, well, Teresa, well, what's the cost? So I told her what the cost was, because I'm like, in order to have this special type of experience. And I remember her saying, well, Teresa, the women that you want to help, or at least that you're telling me that you want to help, are not going to be able to afford this now. But she was like, you would have to have a special kind of woman for this particular experience that you want to create. And at first I didn't like it. I didn't like the way she, and she didn't say it disrespectfully. It was just I felt like you're shooting me down or shooting this
She's
big dream of
she
mine.
was being real.
She was being real, but then I had to go back and sit down and understand that she's right. And I was like, she's right because I was so hell bent on reaching a particular type of woman that I may have dismissed the opportunity, as you mentioned, about finding a new customer, and still understanding where in the market or what sector could still take advantage of what it is that I have to offer. And that was a teach moment for me because I was like, okay, so now my goal is to be able to approach organizations to still be able to provide this leadership experience, but more so for organizations that may need it because there is a challenge with leadership right now or restoring trust in leadership on different scales, but also within organizations. And so that has helped me tremendously, and that's pretty much the path that I'm on. Not saying that I can't go back at some point to support the women that I initially wanted to support, but if I am more financially positioned to do that, to maybe create scholarships where they could, but I still need to find the right type of customer. And so I appreciate that kind of guidance that you just gave us to find what sectors actually can either afford or that need you even during extraordinary times.
Right, right. And I have an experience I can relate to where I spoke to a large group of women in an insurance and financial planning company, very big company. This is in the Washington, D.C. area where I live. Um, and okay, there were two things going on. There were a lot of layoffs from the federal government, so a lot of women were coming into industries that they weren't familiar with or ever thought they'd be in because they were looking for jobs outside of the big bubble of the federal government. And they came into maybe the insurance industry because they could be their own boss and they could be part of a team and they could offer financial and insurance services and that sort of thing. But the problem is that insurance industry is heavy with men. It's a heavily male-dominated industry, and there are a lot of women in it, but there aren't enough supports for women. And the women who are in the leadership positions of these companies are starting to find we need to support each other because the men aren't supporting us. They don't know what we have to go through when we're out there. So I addressed these women, and it was wonderful because we asked the men to leave because we wanted just to make this a women's thing. And before I came out, everybody was talking about all the new services they're offering, and they're just arming them with everything, arming them with everything they need to know to go out there and hit the streets. But nobody asked, well, how do you feel about that? Now that you know everything, you've got all the products and services, it's all lined up in your mind, you've got all that information today. So now you're going to go out there, and how are you going to feel about that when you're sitting across from somebody who is a potential client and they're expecting to see a man instead of you? What does a woman know about this? She's a financial woman. She doesn't, do I trust? There's a lot of trust that has to be involved when you're putting your money out for investing or insurance policies and all that. But, women have to show that confidence in their abilities and not feel like, well, I'm not a man, so I don't know if they're going to believe me. And then they're going to start shrinking back and not having the confidence in knowing they've got all the information, they've been trained, and hey, I'm sitting in front of you and I'm going to build a relationship with you. And, people love people who emotionally connect with them. And we as women, aren't we like that? Don't we like to emotionally connect with people? I just think it's in our nature. So use that. You may not get that with the other insurance guy who works for the firm. Maybe there are people like that, but I'm just saying we as women should take advantage of our emotional abilities to connect with people and want to help them. And take that as, hey, I do work for this heavily male dominated industry, but I'm going to show you how I'm different from that. Some people don't want to deal with the male dominated industries. They may feel a little bit stressed over having to do that. So maybe they are welcome having a woman in front of them. So feel confident about yourself about that and use your emotional intelligence to bring that out to connect with people. So there's a lot going on out there. You know, there's a lot of people that are changing careers and especially going from big companies to small companies. Those people are laying people off and they're looking for something. I've got all this knowledge. I worked for this big company. Now I want to go out on my own and do the same thing, but on my terms. And how do I feel confident about that? Well, you got a lot of education, you got experience, you've been there, and now you're going to show other people what you can do. So that in itself should be a confidence builder. There's no one, even the person that stands next to you that's in the same industry, they may sell the same services and products that you serve, but you're adding your own personality, your own character, your own education, your own experiences to what you're going to give them. Same product, but it's you they want to really want to work for. Isn't it really like that? It's really you they want to work for. And then it's the customer service you're going to provide after you provide them with what they're buying. So it doesn't stop at the sale. It continues after the sale with the customer service that you know you're going to get. You're going to provide them. So keep that in mind. We're really good at helping and serving people. I mean, just our nature, women have that. So keep that in mind, what sets you apart from the rest.
Absolutely. I love that. Keep in mind what sets us apart from the rest. I love that. I love that. So this is actually, we've been talking for a minute, so let's actually get into your business. Let's actually get into the business, Jean, because this is where the crux of your work lies as far as teaching women or empowering women how to build their confidence when it comes to sales, not sounding so salesy, knocking off that what is uncomfortable about sales. And so this is the focus of your work with Jean Wright, Selling Your Confidence, and it's also what you address in your book, Selling Your Confidence, Forging a Successful Sales Career from Mint Cookies to Martinis. So take us into all of these spaces. First and foremost, take us into your work that you do as a sales confidence expert. And then also take us inside of your book a little bit to kind of share with us with all of that. And while you're discussing this, kind of maybe also define what kind of woman that you like to work in these spaces, whether it's your um, with your business or with your book or even with your professional speaking. So take us behind the curtain and lay all of that out for us as you see fit.
Well, when I think about this whole book that came to be, it was basically because I was just moving forward in the sales career with different businesses and organizations that I just felt comfortable doing the sales work. What was it that got me started in knowing that I could sell something? And it was back when I was 11 and I was asking my parents, can I sell Girl Scout cookies? And they said, no, I don't want you going door to door. That was back in the day when we did that. And I said, no, I want to do this because I want to give back to my team. You know, we are charged with going out and doing this, and everybody loves cookies. Why wouldn't I want to do that? So I persuaded them to sign the permission slip, and then I started going out and selling cookies. So flash forward to all these years in between with a career doing all kinds of sales work, and my mother saying, I can't believe I didn't want you to sell Girl Scout cookies. Look at what you've been doing all these years. Like she had this guilt at that first moment when I wanted to sell. It wasn't what she thought would be something to do that would be responsible and and respected. And I ended up showing her, well, look what I can do. And she said, I just can't believe I didn't want you to do that. And I just thought, don't feel bad about this anymore. It's fine. I'm glad I did what I did on my own, and I wanted to write this book to thank her for all her guidance through all my years, even though that first part was a little rocky, but she did guide me in all. She's very business minded, and those influences really do help us and guide us to be the people we are today. So I wanted to write about my journey because I thought it was important, because I went through a lot of things throughout, not only professionally but personally, and I thought other women should know about it and feel like they're not alone in these experiences they have, because it happens out there. And I wanted to make it a little bit light, but also a little bit teachable, so that if you don't know how to sell, you can actually get some tips on techniques on sales. And I use different scenarios that I've been through that would help you understand why people say things and why people do things and how you react to it in the sales situation. So when I started talking about my book, I started hearing another thing out there among people in the crowd saying, well, I just don't want to sound salesy. And I'm thinking, what is it about this word, salesy? However, when I looked it up, it's not even in the dictionary. But if you ask what is salesy and you Google it, it's like, well, it's a term that's used to apply to the feeling of being sold to in an aggressive or uh, pushy way. And I thought people have made up the salesy term to describe a negative feeling they may have when they're asking people to buy something. I don't want to feel like I'm that person, that salesy person. So I decided to address that and re-release my book with an addendum about the salesy problem that we have out there. So my mission now is to change that salesy word into a positive affirmation. And I'm going to use it as an acronym. Selling authentically like everyone sees you. Okay, say you're salesy, but know that you're selling authentically like everyone sees you. Let's not use it in a negative term of, oh, I don't want to be pushy and all that, because frankly, the baggage we carry about sales and salespeople is what brings us down. And that's why we create these terms like salesy. Like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want, you don't have to be that person because you probably aren't. I'm sure that you don't have those attributes that you think you have to adopt to be a salesperson. If you're excitedly telling your friend about something that you have and you want them to have, aren't you helping them? Aren't you authentically being yourself? Aren't you giving them something that you know they need and it's going to improve their life? Is that being salesy? No. It's being helpful and authentic and useful to the other person. And you know that they'll trust you because what you like, you feel like I will probably like too. So my mission in this sales world is to eliminate the negative feelings that we create for ourselves that are not necessary because we are not that person. And salespeople should be respected for what they do to help people solve their problems. And that's how I feel sales should be looked upon. And we need to, that's what I try to do with when I coach women, is to find out why they have this mindset, experience they've had, analyze what kind of attributes do you have, and do you feel like that is a negative in a sales situation. And we usually find that that's not them. They just think they have to be this type of person to sell. So let's change our attitude, ladies.
I absolutely love that, and I like the acronym that you created for salesy. So you have to put that out there for us one more time. I think I captured it, but lay it out for us one more time. What is that acronym for salesy? So it'll
So
hit the
salesy
audience.
is spelled right. So salesy is spelled SALESY.
Mm-hmm.
It's the word that's been created for that meaning of being intimidating and aggressive. But as an acronym, salesy, as it's spelled, should be selling authentically like everyone sees you.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
If you see me as this trusted person and all that, don't you going to want to buy from me? Sure. Do you want whenever somebody is in a crowded room and you're in a business networking group and someone sees you, this is the best thing you could possibly ask for when you get to be known for what you do, is when somebody says to their friend, you need to meet her, and you bring her over because she is the person who, and she will help you with this, and she will make sure she'll solve your problem. And you connect them because you're known for being authentic and helpful and trustworthy, and you're known for that, and that person that has worked with you is going to connect you with somebody else who wants that person to have the same experience they had. That's the ideal. That's the ideal thing that I feel is the best compliment when you're out in the business community. Oh, you need to talk to Jean because she's the person who, and she wrote that book, and she's going to tell you more about how to feel, and she's going to help you feel confident because she helped me, and this is why I want you to meet her. That's just like the best referral you could ever want. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. And I've been loving our conversation, Jean. And as we prepare to downshift, I mean, you've just been giving us such great education. I'm over here taking all of my notes, and I hope that the listening audience is taking notes as well. Leaders, thank you for listening to this episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset series. I would like to take a moment to share a special announcement with you. Listen, we're living in extraordinary times, and it's up to us, the people, the leaders, the entrepreneurs, and the like, to tap into our ingenuity, to revive confidence and sound leadership, to produce goods and services that will bring relief to the challenges hitting our nations, to reduce unemployment rates exacerbated by the dismantling of DEI or the rise of AI, and to revitalize the global economy by leveling up the generation of wealth among the general population. But before we can confront these systematic matters head on, we must be reminded of the mandate and who we are as natural-born leaders, and that leadership is not something to do or dictate, but an expressed demonstration of love. Therefore, I am excited to introduce Love the Success Factor Leadership Incubator. This is a premium transformational leadership development designed to elevate the leadership authority, innovation, and cultural impact of your organization's senior and emerging leaders. So if your organization is ready to take the lid off your leaders' capacity to affect change within our communities, domain of industry, and global economy, I invite you to see the bio to request a consultation. For now is the time to lead differently and to lead with love. Now, back to our episode. So as we prepare to downshift, Jean, you and I had the opportunity to meet one-on-one, and I got a chance to share a little bit about myself. I think what you learned about me is that I am passionate about employing love as that ultimate success factor to renew women's and transformational leaders' mindset with fresh fire and purpose. And I love the way that you are laying out for us about that sales can be authentic, it can be respected, and it can be, and I guess the catalyst behind it is being able to build trusted relationships. And I think being able to build that kind of trust is a demonstration of love. So, and so with that, I believe that the effective power of love is a game changer that gives us that edge to be innovative in our business, to be fully present for those that we serve, as well as knowledgeable about industry trends and benevolent in our community service. And above all, powerful in leadership or confident in leadership. So, with understanding what I believe about love being a game changer, and how we need to be powerful in that space, what kind of leader would you say that you are, and how has love tangibly shaped you as a leader?
Well, it's just similar to when someone meets you in a room and calls you over because they want somebody to meet you and they want people to know you. If you're in a community where people know you for all the good things that you do, that's important to me. And I feel like people will look up to me and say, well, what do you think? And ask for my opinion because they value what I have to say. Because you build that as you go along. Once you start showing people that what you have to say has value and can affect outcomes, then they're going to start depending on you. Then sometimes you're looked upon more for what you have to say instead of other people making their own decisions. So you want everybody to feel like they have a part in things. But I have had many leadership positions where I felt really good about myself because I was able to help people get something they want and feel good about it. But when we know we've made the right decision because we've made it together. So
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So, Jean, as we prepare to wind down, because you have been giving us such education on today, so even if someone is looking to step into their dream career or their dream business, or even if they're already active in their career and might be feeling a little frustrated or stuck, you have definitely have given us a lot of education on today on how to navigate on all of those spaces. So as we prepare to wind down, you have a complimentary gift for us. It's a free coaching moment to say goodbye to sales fear. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this gift that you're offering our audience?
well, it's providing you to do a little bit of self reflection about what it is you have to offer people. Let's stop thinking about what the bad salespeople are like and all those attributes that we don't want to be. But let's take a moment to do some self reflection and look at what helps us feel confident about ourselves, just us. And it's a little bit of a worksheet to help you realize that so that when you go out there, you're not thinking about all of the influences that could bring you down and not make you be successful. It's something that kind of gets you started. And if you feel like I want to move forward even more with this because I want to develop better skills for my sales, now that I understand what confidence is all about and how to kind of release the baggage, I can help you move forward from there and do some personalized coaching with your specific situation. This is kind of like a way for you to start understanding yourself a little bit more because we don't take the time to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for offering this special gift to our audience on today. We're going to make sure that we get the link in the bio so that our audience can take full advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And Jean, I tell you, it has been my absolute honor to be able to have this conversation with you, taking us behind the curtains, giving us access to your years of expertise and also, leaving an impressionable guide for us with your book and all that kind of good stuff. So thank you so much. So what would you say? What are your final words to take us home? What are your final words that you would like to leave with us that will carry us forward from today, beyond 2026?
I would say that business and life can be challenging personally, and sometimes we let a lot of things get in the way to help us be more successful. Make sure you understand who you are and all that you have to offer and why it's so important for other people to get to know you so that you can be really a force out there for good and for being helpful to people. I mean, that's what it's all about. I could say something really profound, but I think it all comes down to being kind, being helpful, being known for your character, which is so important because people are having bad experiences out there with people that don't care about them and they just want to make something up from you and not really authentically get to know you. So make those relationships count and know that they will benefit you eventually or immediately because nurturing yourself into great relationships will always pay off in the end in some way. There's always a silver lining somewhere in everything we do. So it may not happen today. It could happen next week. It could happen next year. But continue to cultivate your relationships and know that being known for being the person you are will benefit you always.
Absolutely. And thank you. So remember that, audience, be a force for good.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Jean, thank you so much for being with us on today. It was such an honor.
Oh, it was a pleasure with your great questions, and I really like the fact that we're speaking to women and we're all in this together, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say thank you for joining us. Remember, you can connect with Jean by visiting her website at sellingyourconfidence.com. You may also connect with her via email at jean@sellingyourconfidence.com. And be sure to connect with her on social media via LinkedIn at Jean Wright-Confidence Builder. And let's not forget to take full advantage of her complimentary gift, a free coaching moment to say goodbye to sales fear. To access and to learn more, you may visit jeansalesconfidence.com/coaching-moment. And let's not forget that you may also find her book, Selling Your Confidence, Forging a Successful Sales Career from Mint Cookies to Martinis. You may find her book on Amazon as well as on Barnes & Noble. Now, leaders, do you have an important story to tell that would inspire others to step into their dream career or business? If so, check the bio to learn how to become one of my special guests. So we want to say thank you to all of you for joining in for another episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, here's to the journey, and let's move forward.